It's time to get personal. This is my story. I realized that I haven't told you a lot about myself here on this channel, so I'm going to make an attempt to tell my trans story. I think that you can look back on your life with different glasses on. Like, for example, I love traveling, and I can put on my pair of travel glasses, which means that I will watch my whole life through those glasses and see, like, you know, when did I show interest in that, and maybe other things that sort of led to me being interested in traveling. Anyway, today I'm gonna put on my trans glasses and see where my trans identity has sort of shown up during my upbringing. I have always known something was wrong. Not with me, but with the way society viewed gender. I always knew that it was wrong because it didn't include me. And I have memories from a very young age when I already realized this. Like when I was 6 or 7 and started school, and maybe even before that. I used to get really uncomfortable when we were separated into different groups and I would be placed in the girls' group, because I never really understood why I was placed into that group. I had many traits that were like the boys, and I had many traits that were like the girls in my class. I felt drawn to things that were considered masculine and things that were considered feminine, so I was never easy to sort of put in a box. When I was 10 years old, the whole class got this like form with different questions that we were to answer. And one of the questions were, one thing that's special about me is. And I answered that with, I'm not like a girl. And I was only 10 at the time. Like, I already knew something was different. I also remember how this shift came, like, first I was able to like play with the guys and do sports with them, and we would be kind of equal. But then suddenly, slowly things started changing and they would grow faster and stronger than me, and I felt that that was so unfair. When I was in school, we also put on a play and we got to choose which character to play, and I choose to play Emil, who is a little boy, while all the other girls in my class choose to play girls in pretty dresses. It was obvious that I was different, I think, to both me and most people around me, but I wasn't different in every way. So it wasn't like something that you had to like pull me aside for, like examine me. And of course this was such a long time ago. It was like, I mean, it was like 20 years ago, so the climate looked completely different back then, right? I don't think that people thought about transgender people in the same way. I did not know that transgender people existed. Anyway, I became a teenager and things got worse. This is when I started experiencing body dysphoria. Of course, I didn't know it back then that it was called that, but now afterwards I can see really strong signs of like that's what it was. So my body started changing and I just refused to accept that. I just ignored it. Like, I got my period and I didn't tell anyone about it. I just kept it a secret. My breasts started growing and I was really, really uncomfortable with that. I didn't buy a bra for many, many years, and even after that, I only wore sport bras to like try to flatten it a little bit. I started getting really self-conscious about different things. Like, for example, I would walk behind guys in the corridor and I would realize, hey, we are walking in different ways. Why are we walking in different ways? So I would start to try to like imitate their way of walking. So instead of like moving my hips back and forth, I would start trying to like sway my shoulders instead, or stuff like that. Also, my way of dressing is a clue. I refused to wear panties. I would instead wear like boys' boxer shorts. I would sneak into my dad's wardrobe to take his t-shirts or hoodies and stuff like that. All in all, I hated being a girl, and I refused to conform to people's expectations of what it meant to be a girl. When I turned, I think 15 or somewhere around that, I think my sort of outlook on life or on gender started changing a little bit, because up until that point I had kind of been convinced in a way that I wasn't a girl, and I didn't have words to describe it, mind you, but I knew that there was something wrong with how the society viewed gender, like I said before. But when I was around 15, that changed. I think I started like accepting that, okay, maybe I am a girl, because this is what people have been telling me my entire life. So I started like accepting that I was a girl, but I was gonna prove to everyone that I wasn't like a girl. that I didn't have to conform to what this stereotypical girl was like. So that meant that I started playing the guitar because that's what the boys did. And even though I had this huge urge to sing, I refused to do that because that's what the girls did. I bought a longboard, I started competing in Rubik's Cube, which I really liked because everyone competed in the same group. There was no like division based on gender. I started playing the drums, like the list could go on. I did so many things to try to act like a guy, I guess. And my way of expressing was also kind of all over the place, I guess. I didn't really care about anything. I had short pink hair and yeah, I would wear like really masculine clothes some days, like button-down shirts, but then I would also wear dresses. Like I didn't care so much. And I think that people didn't really put me in gender boxes back then. So I was kind of comfortable. During this time, I would also get misgendered sometimes, which I loved. Like when someone accidentally called me a guy or he, I loved that. And I could like surf on that wave for days. But then something happened. And I'm not going to go too deep into what happened exactly because of respect of the people that were involved in that time. But I was told by society and by some certain people in my close vicinity that I needed to be a girl. And I think I just lost all the courage and all the strength to continue being me. So I started playing the role of a girl. I let my hair grow out, I started wearing more feminine clothes. I guess I thought that playing the role of a girl, that would make my life easier. Because constantly being outside of the norm, be it gender norms or any other kinds of norms, that is difficult, that's socially difficult. Every day was a struggle. But now I thought that maybe if I just fit into the gender boxes, that will be easier. And in many ways my life did get easier, like socially easier. No one questioned like what rooms I belonged in, no one questioned my existence. But in the same way, it was mentally draining. The more feminine I got, the deeper I went into this depression. I saw a doctor, I got medication, I went to therapy, all of these things for many, many years, and I basically spent a whole year indoors just watching film in my bed. I was living in a hell, being forced into playing the role of a girl, and I didn't even consider that there might be other options. During this time, there was a voice that kept coming up sometimes that told me that, hey, you're not living your true self, you're not living the whole truth. And sometimes that voice would be really quiet, it would come up in different conversations and stuff like that. Or when people called me a girl, it would really sting and I would get reminded that, hey, funny, you are not a girl. But I kept shutting that voice down. But one time, the voice came so forcefully that I couldn't ignore it, and I still to this day can't really explain what happened. I was going to a theatre school and I got to play the role of Pugsley in a play, Pugsley Adams, this little 11-year-old boy, and I loved him so much. I started living like Pugsley. I brought him home with me. When I cooked, I started discovering like, how would Pugsley cook this pancake? And I took him out on walks and I started like being Pugsley, and I loved that. It was like experiencing what my life could have been but never was. After the musical was over, I had to leave Pugsley behind and something weird happened. I still can't explain it. Like I said, I was devastated and I felt like I had lost this part of myself that I had never had, but for a few weeks I had. And then I had to give it away again. It was terrible and so weird. Anyway, so this voice, like I said, would come up, but I kept shutting it down because I knew that listening to it would mean that I would have to reevaluate and change a lot of things about my life that I wasn't prepared to do at the time. Let's cut forward a few years. We find me in a better place. I have stopped my medication. I do not have weekly panic attacks anymore. And I start slowly getting to know myself again. I became friends with transgender people. I started reading about transgender history and memoirs about transgender people. And I started ticking the box other when different forms and stuff asked for my gender. But all of this sort of happened somewhere in the back of my head, in the subconscious, because it wasn't like I actively chose to read up on transgender because maybe I was trans. But one day it just hit me. I watched a YouTube video and everything just clicked. It was like I found the answer that I had been looking for my whole life. It was like putting on a pair of glasses and suddenly everything in my life made sense in a way. It was such a relief. Ever since then I have been trying to live as my true self, the transgender Fanny Oliver that you see in front of you. It's sometimes difficult, of course, but all in all it's so liberating to finally have the answer to what was wrong all along. Not with me, but with the way society viewed gender. I think I'm gonna end this video here. There's so much more to tell, of course, and I will probably do another one of these videos to just pop in and tell you my story if you want to watch it. Anyway, if you want to watch other videos of more LGBTQIA+ people, this channel is full of them, so just have a look through it and watch some of them if you want to. Anyway, have a good day, see you soon!